Joe Rogan is really going after Charlie Kirk's head of security, Brian Harpole, for turning on Charlie. Brian's story is crumbling, and all his lies are getting caught. New info about Charlie Kirk's assassination and the folks behind it is coming out now. Turning Point USA, Erica Kirk, and some of Charlie's closest buddies are all supposedly in on it. You want folks to totally lose hope that anyone will fix anything. Yeah, you throw in a ton of other crazy stuff that doesn't add up, and you blast it out there all at once. You leave a gun that didn't do the job out in the woods. You pull a bunch of stunts like that. Let's go back to the start. On September 10th, 2025, during a debate as part of his American Comeback Tour, Charlie Kirk was shot and killed at Utah Valley University in Orem. Right after Charlie got shot, a middle-aged guy in the crowd said he did it and got grabbed by the FBI. He was lying, though, because the real shooter, or the one they say did it, was up on one of the rooftops facing Charlie. 2 days later, this shooter, Tyler Robinson, got arrested after he supposedly walked into a police station and confessed. His gun was found near the scene, and it supposedly had no serial number. Now, this is where it gets juicy. After they arrested Tyler Robinson, Charlie Kirk's head of security did an interview, and nothing he said added up. On Monday before this, the message went to Chief Long. Hello, Chief Long. We got this note today from the student group. There's student roof access pretty close to where CK will be set up at Utah Valley. The Sorensen Center has a couple of staircases that go up to walkways on the roofs. He comes back, and for clarification, the Sorensen Center was the building in front of the Lucy Center. And so he comes back and says, you want access to the roof, and came back and said, I was told students have access above. There's laws for a reason. And so now the school could have flown drones, the PD, but they didn't have them, right? But Orem PD hasn't a drone unit active and professional. And that police department, I will tell you right now, is awesome. They get it. They were there. They help both on the soft side and the hard side. And so I started asking questions like, you guys have a drone unit? Yeah, good. Do you have a new or a mutual aid agreement with the school? And they're like, yeah. I said, did they call you and ask for assistance? No. I'm like, why? Why wouldn't you call? And then, that's one. I can't go in and break the law. I can't make my guys break the law. I can't go in and do something that would jeopardize their. Do you have any idea why they would say no? Brian claims that it's illegal to fly a drone near the campus. This is a lie, and he knows this. Brian has been in charge of his security company for years. All private security companies have licenses to fly drones. Multiple other experts have already proven this. Is Brian Harpole's not being factually accurate? Again, I don't want to quote him. I implore you guys to go back and check his interview out. But in his interview, he spoke a lot about him not being able to legally fly a drone. Now, if any of you are familiar with the policies, procedures of filing one of the FAA 30-day notices or requests or the Lance approvals on this particular area, I went and fact-checked them. I heard him say that he couldn't legally fly it based on the police's suggestion that they possibly will be covering the event or that he's got them covered. And he used that as the legal pretext for not being able to fly. I guess. I assume. But the key thing he said was he cannot legally fly. And that's just not factually accurate. So I went ahead and fact-checked him. I actually acquired a Lance approval for this specific site in a 3/4-mile radius around the campus. As far as the state law as Utah is concerned, the state of Utah basically echo federal law. And so federal law dictates that, yes, you can get a permit under 107 rules, which, if this guy was operating a security contract company, he would have to have a 107 license. He'd have to be operating under the 107 license banner, which means that he would be able to, in this specific circumstance, get a Lance approval instantly. I acquired a Lance approval for the site within 20 seconds. Brian went on to say that trusting the chief was actually his biggest mistake. And as it turns out, that's also not true because there are dozens of other security threats that he ignored. The more you peel back the layers, the more it becomes clear none of what happened on that day was a mistake. Looking back, Brian, what do you think that you guys could have or should have possibly done differently? And people have asked that, and we've asked each other that, and so we look at our operations plan, our workup, and we're like, what could we have done? Well, what could we incorporate? And I'm like, man, if it were up to us, yeah, I'd have rolled in an APC. We had, no budget. And, there's a difference there. We have to work within realities, right? And so, and I hate to lower myself to this guy. Yeah, but I wish I wouldn't have trusted that chief. I wish, but this is a command level accredited police department, chief of police days before. And when we're talking about a specific area, and then when it comes across, well, there's like this is what we're concerned with, and then when it comes back with I got you covered, you tell me, and then I'll take it. Is there another way for me to construe that that's taken care of? Another major issue was how there was basically no security at all. It wasn't just a rooftop that was unguarded. There were no guards. None of the tickets were being checked, and an event that was supposed to be just 600 people quickly swelled over to 3,000. Charlie's security team could have stepped in at any moment, but they didn't. This wasn't a mistake. This was a choice. PDS do not have drone programs, which is a big problem. Working on that, because it's something they should all have. It should be mandated by some sort of law. And so, anyways, it's in quick defense of the security. They're only allowed to protect his immediate vicinity. And that, of course, is false. So it was made very clear that there were drones that could have been used, and there could have been people on the roof. They said there were supposed to be people on the roof, but where they failed is they did not verify with the police department that was actually taken care of. And then the next thing I want to talk about, this is extremely important, is that initially there are supposed to be about 600 people coming to this event. Now, there's several layers of issues here. First of all, they didn't check tickets. It was a wide-open event, meaning anyone could come in. They could just walk right in. So, there's no security there. There's no accountability for anyone who's coming in if they actually bought tickets or signed up for this event. And then for security, they said that it went from 600 people to over 3,000 that showed up. Now, at these events, a lot of times it's Kirk's enemies, right? It's the left. It's the people that are anti-Charlie Kirk. They call him a fascist. He gets death threats. So they left it wide open, and his security team allowed this to happen. They put him in a situation where the police station that Tyler walked into has allegedly deleted the footage. It's just shocking at this point. You're telling me a man and you deleted the footage of his alleged shocker coming in to confess. At this point, everyone knows that this is a cover-up. In a recent episode of his show, Joe Rogan dismantled the official narrative step by step. Tyler Robinson being the shooter and jumping off a 14-foot roof without leaving any evidence and then suddenly agreeing to turn himself in doesn't make sense. According to the narrative, now let's be real clear. I don't necessarily think they know what's going on yet. There's a lot of weird going on with this. I know. First of all, there was that one guy who is the decoy. All right, so you got this guy who's an older guy who starts yelling out. Didn't he take his pants down? He took his pants down. This guy was at 911. He was at the Boston bombings. He called in a fake bomb at another place, and then he did this at this thing right after. So, somehow or another, this guy has a state of mind that the moment someone gets, he yells out and says, I did it, and takes his pants down or something like that. Now, I don't know exactly what he did. Then ready for this? He gets arrested for child right away. Right after this happened. Oh, right away. He's in jail for child. Why is that? Well, now you can't interview him. Right? He's right. Right? And because when the internet people start going, how are you at all these different things? Like, what are the odds? It's like if someone ran it through one of the chat GPT perplexity things, like what are the odds that this guy would be at all those different events and be involved like zero? This is the guy. Yeah, I just like that the pants down part is just insane to me. It's like, why is you're out? I did it. Listen, I'm not saying this, G. That's the other thing. They said that he took it apart and then put it back together again. Shut the up. Do you know how much time it would take to do that if you were highly skilled to disassemble a gun? To disassemble a rifle so that you can get in a backpack. And by the way, not going to fit. Not going to fit. And then somehow or another reconnects it once he gets off the roof. What? What's that? Pitch. Is that what they pitched? Huh. Yeah. And then he's supposed to get it in that stupiding backpack. It makes no sense. And the elevator music wasn't a nice touch, by the way. So, this is just a narrative, right? We watch a guy jump off the roof, and then we supposedly find this rifle. So, if you can have a guy that's in the audience that's yelling, "I shot him, now shoot me. I shot him, now shoot me." And then that guy gets arrested for trial charges, he's like, what is going on here? And then you find this rifle, and then you say, oh, he assembled it, and he reassembled it. Okay, if I wish I was a cop, I'd sit in a room like, this story is or hit. None of these things make any sense to me. You're telling me that this kid who's not military trained, this guy, first of all, how did he get to the roof? How come nobody was looking? How come nobody was there's a direct line of sight between where he's sitting and those roofs? You guys didn't check. You don't have a drone. That's insane. Erica's behavior has been suspicious ever since Charlie died. One person wrote a comment on TikTok saying, I don't understand how Erica Kirk has time for interviews, but says absolutely nothing regarding the investigation. If my husband was murder, I would do whatever I can to get to the bottom of this. Not do interviews about how much I appreciate Trump and Vance. SMH, it's all off. I would also thank Candence for putting her time to help solve this for me and my kids. The widow of conservative activist Charlie Kirk is taking over the organization her husband helped to establish. Erica Kirk was officially named as CEO of Turning Point USA by the group's board. In a post on social media today, the board said the organization will carry on and not surrender to evil. Charlie Kirk was fatally shot during an open-air event on the campus of Utah Valley University on September 10th. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson is charged in his killing. Charlie Kirk co-founded Turning Point USA in 2012. The group is credited with energizing the youth vote in Donald Trump's 2024 presidential election victory. The violence, unfortunately, doesn't end here. Both Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson have received threats simply for questioning the official story. The moment they started digging into the inconsistencies, the pressure came down hard. Candace said on stream that she was explicitly told there was an active threat against her if she kept talking. Candace Owens has been told there is a threat on her life, that she is on a list, her and Tucker Carlson. Another point that I'd like to follow up with Andrew Cavett, let's stick with you, is that in the hospital on that day, you told me you were in the hospital that you were told that there was a credible threat against me and Tucker Carlson. Specifically, you told me that me and Tucker Carlson were on a list and that you were just telling me as a friend that me and Tucker should lay low. And after you told me that, I ended our phone call and I immediately called Tucker Carlson and I said, hey, terrified, obviously crying all day and telling him that he and I have to lay low because there's a credible threat. And it is now really living inside me that you did not tell me who that threat was from. And I assume the feds told. But I asked you the question, why wouldn't the feds call me directly if there was a threat against my life? No such call has come in. How is that possible? How could someone have told you that there was a credible threat and that me and Tucker Carlson should lay low, and yet me and Tucker have since not been notified by any federal agency about those credible threats? Okay, that is really weird. For those who don't know, this person that told Candace Owens there was an active and real threat against her and Tucker Carlson's life was this individual here, Andrew Kov. Andrew Kovit is Charlie Kirk's executive producer. So, in the hospital when Charlie was, Andrew Kov told Candace Owens that there's an active threat against her and Tucker Carlson's life. Candace is looking back in hindsight and saying, wait a minute, who even told you that there was a threat on my life? And if there was a very serious threat on my life, then why hasn't somebody from the FBI contacted me? So she's thinking, okay, my friend Charlie just died, and now there's an active threat against me. Now later, Candace ended up making the claim that Charlie began to abandon the pro-Israel movement near the end of his life. Andrew Coe denied these claims. Then later, Candy showed receipts and released the text messages, which Andrew was a part of, where Charlie did admit and say that he was going to abandon the pro-Israel movement. Charlie also said he was thinking about bringing Candace back, and the people in that group message begged him not to do so. Candace, who has been somebody who has been anti-Israel, and she's spoken out against Israel. Then near the end of his life, when Charlie began to share those same sentiments, People who were close to him and people who worked very close to him, like Andrew Kovic, try to cover that up and say it wasn't true. Now, she's looking back and she's saying, wait a minute. Andrew was the same person that told me there was a threat on my life. Now, who exactly would be threatening Candace? And why? And why would Andrew be privy to this information? Very weird. Even the official narrative has holes. FBI Director Kash Patel confirmed earlier that they were investigating the presence of a second shooter, and now that detail is blowing the entire case wide open. Witnesses on the ground reported hearing shots from two different directions, and surveillance timestamps don't align with the version of events Brian Harpole is pushing. At this point, every new revelation makes it harder to believe that Charlie Kirk's inner circle didn't know more than they're admitting. This guy is equally sane, and he's saying, hey, look, that appears to me to be an exit wound. And when I go and look at this, and by the way, Kash Patel said on Sunday that the FBI is looking at leads, including the location of the shot and the angle of the bullet, potentially a second shooter. And that's what Kash Patel said on the Sunday News show. So, this does not appear, Pat, that it's one say that Kash Patel said there's a second shooter. Yes, sir. Rob, can you zoom in a little bit, please? I'm 46. Thank you. Director of FBI committed to ensuring investigation to Chair Nation person. The full weight of Americans' law enforcement's active following extended. We are meticulously investigating theories and questioning includes the location where the shot was taken. The possibility of accomplices, text messages, confessions, related conversations, Discord chats, and the angle of the shot and bullet impact. How the weapon was transported, hand gestured observed as potential signals near Charlie. So they're doing all of that. Okay, that's great. You're saying the shot was taken. Some details are known today, while others are still being pursued to ensure every possibility is considered. Our primary focus of complete investigation formation will ensure regarding specific details, such as questions about the plane regarding turning off a transponder assassination side. We can share updates. Okay, at this point, one thing is clear. Too many questions remain unanswered.